friends! So today we are talking about all things grad school. So the application process and actually getting in, and some tips to help you become a more competitive candidate. So if you're interested, keep on watching. So this should go without saying, but you want to make sure that you do an extensive amount of research. And so when you're going into researching, you want to make sure that you understand what it is that you exactly want. So for me, I said, okay, I want a program that has a bilingual or multicultural emphasis to it, where I can get a specialized certificate from that, a school that is affordable, something that was maybe in my state, but I was willing to travel just so that I could get into grad school on my first round. You can be choosy. I feel that it's underrated to be choosy when applying to grad school, because they only let in 20 students and you want to get into a program, and you have to be choosy in the sense that you are applying to a program that best fits your needs, whether it be budget, whether it be curriculum, whether it be location. Like, you want to make sure that the school that you're choosing fits you perfectly, and that's gonna really enhance the quality of education that you get. And I feel like it's so underrated, but trust me, it makes a big difference. So since I knew what I wanted out of a school, research was really easy. A really great place to start for research is the ASHA EdFind, and I'll put it up here so that you guys can see. So when you're looking into the ASHA EdFind, this is what the portal looks like, and I just typed in New York for reference, so that's where I'm from. And so you can see how you scroll down, you look at the different degree programs, the area of study, location, program offerings, and so I clicked on Masters, and you can see all the master's programs in New York, and I looked at other program offerings. Didn't see anything but cultural emphasis, which I'm super into, and so I made sure to click on bilingual. So now you can see all the schools that fit my needs depending on the location, the degree program, and the cultural emphasis is showing up. Just for reference, I'll show you guys Teachers College of Columbia, because that was my #1 school. I absolutely love it. And so you get that institution info information, just really in-depth look at the school, which would really help you understand if this is the right program for you. The admissions information is super important. The application requirements, you want to make sure you're meeting those, as well as average GRE scores to give you a reference. And so you can see the areas of study, their grants, their contracts. It just really goes into depth on the school. So some additional research you want to take is the GRE research. So I know, as we saw on the ASHA EdFind portal, we are able to see the requirements, the average numbers in terms of verbal, quantitative, and writing that schools want for the GRE. So that gives you a good basis in planning and understanding, okay, I need to be within this range to be a good candidate, or what have you. But again, there's so many aspects that go into it. It's not just a GRE score, but a good GRE score does help. I took classes, which helped, but there's a lot of free resources as well if you look into it. So I'll leave that for you guys below if you're trying to save some coin, because the GRE process is super expensive, so that will definitely help. Once you have your preliminary research, you want to set up a meeting with your advisor, and this is something that I did to just put my heart at ease and make sure I had all the right classes, that I was on the right track. Fortunately, I was actually missing a class. So not really missing a class, but now ASHA wants you to have a science other than biology, so I needed a physics class. So I'm glad that I went in and I met with my advisor. We went over my classes, we looked at my grades, and you know, it's a real and raw conversation about grad school with your advisor, but I appreciated it because it fueled me to do better and to become a better candidate by doing other things, which I'll tell you guys in a minute. So now that you have all of your research compiled, you need to organize it. It's just like a must. So I used Airtable, which was new to me, but I found it to be really helpful in organizing everything that I needed. And if I can leave a template for you guys on how I did this, I will leave it in the description box. If not, I'll just leave my grad missions Airtable, which is essentially a spreadsheet, and then you guys can customize it to the way you want it to be, because it took me forever to do it, but I'm not mad at it because it was so nice and organized and I loved it. So Airtable is essentially a spreadsheet making website. And so I had all of the schools I'm applying to. Just to show you Columbia, I had the name, the application process, the requirements the school needed, as well as the essay prompt. And I did this for each school that I wanted to apply to. As well as Indiana University, you see the application process, requirements. You are even able to add supplementary materials, which was super helpful. And then I also had the essay prompt. I did this because not every essay prompt was the same. So yeah, you guys get the gist of what it's like. And so then I had the actual grad schools and their open house dates, and I had links and deadlines, and yeah, I just made sure everything was nice and neat and in one place. So yes, I could have used the CIDCAS system, but not all the schools that I applied to were using that system. And so some of the schools wanted you to apply directly to the school portal. And so having all this information in one place just helped me feel organized and that I was a little bit sane amongst this whole grad missions process. So I'm gonna give you guys a timeline of what I did that I feel helped me in my application process and getting into grad school. So the spring before I graduated, I was working at a daycare to gain some experience of working with children, as well as taking some ASL classes, which I felt also helped me become a better candidate. I was extra, okay? I was doing whatever I could to better my chances, because I know cohorts are small and more often than not, it's only once a year that they're doing admissions. So I needed to make sure that I was as competitive as can be. In the summer was when I started my GRE classes. I was researching, I was still taking ASL classes, and then I started working in a nursing home as a rehab aide. And this also benefited me, and I feel that it made me a stronger candidate. So I was working in the rehab amongst the SLPs, the OTs, and the PTs. And I got a little taste of every discipline, and I was able to learn how to do billing, how the inner workings of the rehab in a nursing home is, and I got to sit in on some evaluations, which was really cool. It's just a really nice experience for you to have, and if you're able to apply or volunteer, I highly recommend it. As well as I started writing my personal statement. I didn't finish it, but in the summer I had a good outline, framework of what I wanted to include in that personal statement. So when the fall came around, I was polishing it up, and this is where I was seeking feedback from not only my professors, but my mom, as well as other graduate students. Getting that feedback from these different sort of outlets on my personal statement definitely helped me polish it up and make it beautiful for admissions. I was also requesting letters of recommendations, and you don't want to just pick any old body, which can sometimes happen if you're not building really good relationships with your professors during your undergraduate years. So it's super essential to build bonds with your professors because they will be writing your letters of recommendation. So in the fall, I also did a resume refresh. So you want to make sure that everything is up to date and looking pristine. So finally in the spring is when I was hearing back from schools, and I either had interviews and I was getting letters of acceptances or denials. So we'll get into that in a bit. So you want to be a competitive candidate. As I mentioned before, you want to build those bonds, those professional relationships with your professors so that you get some really good letters of recommendation. That's one. Two, your personal statement. I cannot emphasize how important the personal statement is enough. That really sets you apart from others, and it helps the admissions office see that you are indeed a competitive candidate. So as I mentioned before, I had various people read my essay, give me some feedback so that I got a good understanding of what I should be including in my essay or what I should possibly take out. So the schools that you're applying to more often than not have a mission statement. So look at their mission statement and see if you can incorporate elements of their statement into your essay, which is like a good little tick, like, okay, this person did their research, they know what we stand for and what we stand by, and they took the time to look into that. I feel like that's just a little razzle dazzle that you can add, as well as I looked at the professors and what research they were conducting and incorporated that, especially if it had to do anything with bilingualism, which I love. So then it was like, ding ding, match made in heaven. She wants to do bilingual research. We have that here. And so it's just another step that you can take to help elevate your personal statement, in my opinion. But you ultimately want to let that school know that you are an asset. An asset. You want to market yourself in your essay as best as you can without being too boastful. So I made sure to incorporate my cultural diversity, as well as the need for more bilingual speech and language pathologists in the field. And so educating me educates everybody that I come into contact with. And so I made sure to incorporate that, and you just gotta market yourself, boo. So some ways that you can become a competitive candidate and a way to market yourself better is to do some shadowing. I did a lot of shadowing. I took ASL classes, as I mentioned before. I also had some work-related experience. And also, if you have something different to bring to the table, incorporate that into your essay or into your application some way, somehow. So another thing is to not be discouraged if you weren't a CSD undergrad major. Just make sure you're taking the appropriate classes. I have friends who weren't CSD majors and they got into the program on their first try. I feel like it's a really unique experience to go and say this person was in social work, having a social work background and correlating that to different aspects of speech and language pathology, and how our discipline really relies heavily on interdisciplinary teamwork. And so she has a different outlook that I may have, and she can educate us on those nuances within social work but related to speech and language pathology. So there are just various things you can do to help better your chances. So I'll show you guys my stats. I had a decent GPA, a 3.7. My GRE scores were a little shaky. I'm just generally not good at standardized testing. I don't like it. I get super anxious, so that's me. As well as I had lots of work experience. So working with kids since I was in high school, and then working as a rehab aide definitely put me over the edge, in my opinion. So even with these scores that I have, I still got into grad school, and I feel that my personal statement definitely helped me. And so I made sure that my personal statement really showcased that I was an asset, okay? I was gonna not only learn from my peers, but also teach them about different cultural nuances and different aspects in the field of speech and language pathology. So all in all, I'll give you guys a breakdown. I applied to about 10 schools, I believe, and I got into two schools, okay? So I made sure to broaden my horizons and apply to different states because I knew how competitive it was in the tri-state area, like of New York. So I needed to make sure that I was getting in on my first try, so I applied wherever I could. That may not be an option for everybody, but if you can do it, I highly recommend it. And it just really heightens your chances of getting into grad school on your first time applying. So that is it for me today. I hope you guys liked this video and got some really good information and insight on the application process and bettering your chances of getting into grad school. So if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, and if you want to see more content from me like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. All right, friends, bye.